What's up, guys? We are back again with another podcast. Hope you guys like that Lazy Dub one. You guys got us a 2.1K, so we really do appreciate you guys. Right now, we got KJ in the building.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
You already know you got Honey with the new
no
dude.
introduction.
Look at her new hair. Look at her new hair, guys. It's summer vibes. And we got our
Period.
special guest out here, Kicking Ass, Taking Names
Yes.
podcast.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yes, they're huge.
Because that's what they do. They kick ass. They take names.
Yes.
So where did that name come from? That's what I want to know. Where did that name come from? So
I mean, to be
were you
honest,
just kicking somebody's ass one day? And taking
no.
their
So
names?
I train MMA, and I'm gonna, I've been saying I'm gonna fight for a long time, but I will be fighting soon, and also it was like entrepreneurship, like people are just crushing it, and it was just an idea of getting started as soon as possible so that you don't let a vision die. So I had the vision that I want to do the podcast. So I got my name, my logo, and my first episode, found the studio, everything within like the first second I had the idea. I was rolling the first episode and with the logo done, everything in 3 days.
Damn.
The determination is real.
Yeah, so we had our first 3 episodes done in the first week and a half.
3 episodes? Wow.
Shit.
Yeah.
So you were really determined. Like you were like, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna get this podcast out.
Yeah,
You really can't.
yeah, because I know myself too well. Like if you have an idea and you wait too long, then you're not gonna execute on it.
That's deep. What do you think about that, honey?
I think that's crazy, like, because you definitely was doing almost like an episode a week. So you took like a tiny little break or like a little shift.
No, we didn't even do an episode a week. We were doing 2 episodes to 3 episodes a week for like the first
That is crazy.
3-4 weeks, and then after that I ended up having a falling out with a company that I won't say who the name is, but they pretty much gatekeeped my 4 episodes. And so we had a partnership where I was just going to rent the room. That's why I was able to get so many. So I only had to spend $40 an hour to rent the room. And then the media company was going to take the film footage. And I thought they were going to cut clips or do other things. And they didn't do anything except for show up and film. And their film wasn't bad, but we pretty much only had like 2 camera angles. Now I have 3.
Right.
And then we had 3 episodes done. And I got really lucky. I ran into Rais Salim, who's a pro boxer at my gym. And so in the first week, I was like, dude, I just started a podcast. Like, would you be open? He was like, yeah, sure. So I got those episodes done. And long story short, we were going to the table to negotiate. Because they're like, we'll do this for free and we'll film and then we'll decide, how we're going to split it. And then they come up to me and say like, oh, we want to do a 90-10. And I was like, oh, okay, so like I take 90% because I'm running the show. I'm going to pay for the marketing. I'm going to do the cuts, the reels, etc. And they're like, no, we're going to take 90%. I was like, my face is on it. Like I'm worth 10% to you. Like, and then it took 2 minutes for that conversation to go south. And then after that conversation, they're like, well, we don't want to release episodes. And I was like, well, I'll just buy them from you. And then they're like, oh, we're not going to sell them to you. I'm like, well, that's my time, energy, effort, money.
You created that.
Yeah,
That
and
makes
so
sense. I'll be so pissed off.
I was pissed. So what happened was I never got those episodes back.
Damn.
They never sold them to me. I lost it. All my guests I had to rebook. They were down. Luckily, like they're like great, and I appreciate everybody because they were willing to come back on. Except for Rais was out of town, and we still haven't refilmed that one. So I owe him that one. But when I go to Vegas next, I'm gonna film with him for sure.
And sorry, how many episodes got lost in the archive?
4.
4 episodes.
4
Yeah.
4 valuable episodes.
And they were killer
so mad,
episodes.
bro.
Kick-ass
Because
episodes, yeah.
They were, because I was like your first few episodes, you're so charged and
Yeah, like that's
Stoked
like your
up.
momentum.
I was so dialed in, and those episodes were so good. Like if there was an episode with Princeton Clark, I know he's still probably upset about it, but he just was
Princeton
spitting so much fire. Yeah, he's out here locally,
Yeah.
spitting so much fire, and the style of the pod, it was so good, and
like original organic.
it was so
Like
organic.
special,
Yeah.
special,
It was a
That's
special
sad.
episode, and those are still special to me. So I hope one day they release them. But if they ever see this, give me my episodes back.
Shame on y'all for taking this man's episode. I'll be pissed as hell.
created it.
Can
I
y'all
was.
imagine being
Yeah.
him and like not
then-
getting your episodes at
Yeah.
all?
So that was like after a month and a half or whatever, I had that happen. A month or whatever that happened. So
Whoa.
I was like, I have nothing now. I'm starting over from scratch, and I had 2 choices, which was like to quit, But then I was like, if I quit, they win. So I got pissed. So I was like, all right.
There you
so
go. I like that.
I got extra mad. And then
Right.
Martin, who originally started the AZ Pod, was like, yeah, man, like we'll work a deal with you. Like I saw you in here. I saw you were working. He's like, we'll work a deal with you. So we worked a deal to get kind of a discount just to catch back up. And I got everybody back. And then I was like, dang, this production's better. I own everything. I'm not a partner. Like I own everything. So
Right.
ever since then, you know.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy, but 90 to 10 is insane.
Well, to like, if you're in business, you know, like if you just
created
say
it.
that,
I'd be
that's
pissed.
Automatically.
that's just like automatic. That's just disrespect to
but
anybody.
that's like spitting in somebody's face. Like,
yeah,
Like this is how much you're worth. You're worth 10%.
Like you're doing all the marketing, you're doing the promoting, you're getting the clients, like the host, like you're doing all this stuff, and they're just
showing up
and talking, and you want me to.
They're showing up and they're with the camera and pushing start, and he wasn't even doing any cuts, any edits, nothing.
So you had to do literally everything that when you would pay a podcast studio to do make those adjustments for you and edits and cuts. Yeah. And you did all that, and then they wanted 90%.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking wild.
You should have kicked their ass at 90%.
You're a fighter, you know, and you gotta pull up in the. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think of it as now they probably see it, and they probably are like, damn, because in another, there's no better revenge than success, right? Like,
ooh,
that's
you know
the
what?
best.
That's true. No, your podcast, we checked it out, right, honey?
Yeah.
We were like, man, this guy had the dog guy on it. I think you had Jeffrey Allen, or what was it?
Jeremy Minor.
Jeremy Minor, yes.
Yeah.
I saw
I told him about that. I was like, yo, you be getting numbers.
Tell us. But what made you like want to start it? I know you said that you were fighting at the same time. What made you want to just be like, I'm gonna start a podcast? Because I mean, to get there, there's always a reason.
Yeah, I mean, so originally I had a business. One of the reasons I started for multiple reasons. Like one of my inspirations is Brad Lee, and we're working on scheduling with him as well. And Brad Lee's like this guy who just gets on camera, never scripts anything, just talks, and like he gets views, numbers, this, that, and his like most of his stuff nowadays, he just talks all day. Like it's just him on his personal reels, on his podcast reels, on his development, all that stuff, and he has all these products, but he just hangs out all day and talks. And I was like, dude, I want to get paid to do that. And then that was one of the reasons. And so fun fact, I got fired from a job, and the guy that fired me showed me Brad Lee. So if it wasn't for that guy to like showing me that, I wouldn't even know who Brad Lee was. Don't know if I would even be as inspired. 1, 2, I had a business, and I was able to collect and make like $1,000 a week, just kind of like relaxing, sitting in the pool, chilling while my team was handling everything. Cause I started a remote call center. So I used to do cold calls and sales calls all day. So I'd be one of those guys making 200-300 calls a day. So those skills paid off later with like getting guests and booking and stuff. I don't make hundreds of calls, but I'm saying like the ability to speak and communicate.
To get people
you make
on.
them want to come on now. And I'm sure you wanted them on, now they want to be on.
Yeah, so I built a business to like 70, 80 grand a year chilling like at the pool, And then I had and also this was before inflation, so I was chilling, but I just blew that money. Like everything I made, I just like spent, didn't care,
you only live once, man.
And I lost that business because of like not COVID, but post-COVID it went up, and then they changed the way that this business was structured. Like they kind of started adding like advertising, this and that. So I got all these impressions, and it just dropped. And so when I lost all that business like pretty rapidly, because I was being lazy and I was still making more money. It was because of what I did the first year that the second year I was making more money. But when that business dropped, I lost all those views and those impressions, and I lost all of that like automated kind of income with my, people who were all my team members who were like working, and they were relying on me for work. And I would be sending money overseas to them, and they pay their families, and they eat food with that money. And then the fact is that we lost that business, and then I'm like, what do I do? Because I just built this. I could keep going, but I got so frustrated with like being reliant on a system that I was like, okay, so what if I have my name attached to myself? What if my brand is big enough? And then also too, I want to learn still like how to do this stuff. So I'd rather learn from the people who have done it. So I was like, well, a podcast, like I get to build my network. I get to learn from others. I get to, like it just was like a smarter way to like maneuver life. And then also too, I'm one of those people that has a lot of ideas, and then I don't write it down, and then I lose it, and then I have no progress. So I was like, with this, I just posted online. It's on the page. Now, I didn't want to be a guy who's like, what do you do? And then you're like, I don't know. I want to be the guy where it's like, what do you do? Well, at least
plan.
Worst case scenario, I am a podcaster. Like worst case, like that's like the most basic level of like who I can be, you know? Because then you look at me and you say, I know what this guy does. Okay, what else do you do? You know? And I've built off of it, and I did it backwards. Because usually you're supposed to have a product or big, you know, companies, then they start a podcast, whatever. But I was like, I don't even know. I'm just gonna go like learn from people and spend money, and you know, hopefully I don't waste it all. Yeah. And then it turned into obviously like learning, and now we're doing more like I want to go into the education, and we've got a media company. We would do some media inquiry stuff. I help other people build their brands now, so like it's growing into that, and it's been changing over the last year and a half, but it was hard the first year, you know?
Yeah, no, a podcast gives purpose, because if you're doing a podcast, you know, just for the revenue, you're not really understanding, you know, what it is. A podcast tells a story. There's always a beginning, middle, and end. And the beginning, you know, obviously when we first want to make a podcast, you know, even with the Realness Lounge, we keep it real, authentic, true to yourselves. That's what I tell people all the time. We had 98.3 come on here, and we're talking about mental health.
That's our niche, like our thing. But
shout out to 98.3.
Yeah, shout out to 98.3. But it takes a lot to be consistent, and that's something that we all struggle with. I'm sure maybe even you sometimes, where you're like, man, I'm tired. Do I really want to film right now? Or man, should I just take this pill and like?
Right, you know, because you can be going through life, going through things, you know, and sometimes you might need like a little break. But having that drive and that perseverance to be like, you know what, I'm glad I got up, because that was a dope ass episode.
Yeah, I love that conversation.
It's always the hardest days that you end up usually getting like the best episode out of nowhere.
That is true. I'm gonna have to clap right there, because the days when I feel like I'm rushing, and then we all get here, we're all chilling, like, okay, let's do this. And then the episode be so fire. We're like, we should just do 2 hours now. At this point, you know?
No, that's facts. What do you think about that, KJ?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like sometimes you just, you know, don't have the energy or the ambition to do it. But, you know, you just got to say fuck your feelings and still, you know what I mean? Just go for the grind, you know what I mean? Go for your goal.
Absolutely.
Keep showing up.
Yeah, keep showing up.
There you go.
So I have a question. How old are you?
I'm
you have a lot of knowledge. I'm like, how old is this man?
I'm 29.
You're 29?
Yeah, what are you guys at?
Your mom raised you good. You
I'm 28.
Yeah, I'm 27.
29.
Yeah,
so I'm like, he just seems so like, you know, ahead of his time. When the way that you talk and you speak about your passion for podcasting.
Yeah, I mean, well, I interview guys who are, you know, like just so like they're incredible, you know. So you learn from people, you absorb the energy in the room.
Yes. So what do you feel like makes a podcast grow? Like, what if somebody wanted to start a podcast right now? They're like, you know what, I want to get my best friend on here. Let's start a podcast. What tips would you give to people if they wanted to start one, and what would make it grow?
I think the first thing is getting an idea of like what, at least like a theme, like a generic theme. I don't think you need to go too deep into it. I think it's more important to start, because a lot of people talk about it, but if you're not even doing it, like whether it's the best quality podcast or you're just starting out wherever, just getting going. Because like I said, when I first started, I was more afraid of myself, that I wasn't gonna get going, than the actual like logistics of everything. You know, because when you start doing something, you build, things change over time. You're not gonna know what the end result's gonna be anyways. So it's better off to just get going and hit the ground running and start doing something than to do nothing. Like that's step one. But like, let's say you already know that you're gonna do it. You've already got like people have studios at home, whatever. Well, if you don't know what to do, why don't you learn from the people that you want to learn from?
That's it.
Because if you don't know, and there's only so many things you can say and how many different ways you can say it. But if you have a conversation with somebody else, like that's the whole point of a podcast. So you don't really need to know too much. You just need to be willing to learn and willing to be consistent.
That's it. That's it. Wow, consistency. Well, that's a fucking fact.
Hit the nail on the head on that one.
Definitely.
It's consistency, right? So obviously, and that's something that we all want to stick to is our content schedule. What's gonna make us grow. Mm-hmm. Like I said, with us, we want to focus on authenticity, like mental health, but also we talked about drug addiction, sober life. Yes. We also talked about Rico Bands. He was on here. We had some, influencers on here as well. Yeah, he's an artist. But I'm just like, I'm thinking, when I say hold the vision, trust the process, what does that mean to you when I tell you that? Hold the vision,
trust the process.
Yep.
I think it's how would I interpret that? Definitely. I mean, so for me, I just think just go, right? Like, it's kind of like walk by faith, not by sight. Mm-hmm. And it's really I couldn't tell you the amount of times that I was like, I'm going to do this. And then I'm like, don't know what my next episode, don't know where the next guests are going to come from, don't know where anything's going to come from. And I just start repeating like, okay, like this week, like something's going to happen. I'm going to get this big guest. And then all of a sudden I'm walking down the street and I see like it's celebrity in Scottsdale, like, or whatever. And I'm like, what's up, dude? And I talk to him and not like big time celebrity, but let's say, they're a big name out here and they've been rolling. I've seen their content. I'm like, yo, I have a podcast. I'd love to interview you, get your story. Here's my page. That's what we do. Like, you're nervous. You're like, I hope they see value in what I'm doing.
When you guys pitch it to the guests and
stuff.
Yeah,
but I've got a crazy story about that actually. I was in North Scottsdale and I was eating brunch with my mom and she was in town visiting. And it was one of my first, like I only had like 10 episodes done and I'm eating and Evan Carmichael was there. And Evan Carmichael's like, if you don't know who he is, he's like one of the biggest like inspirational, motivational YouTubers, like college students like watching him. He's the top 10 tips for success. Like he'll do like, like Kanye West top 10 tips for success, right? Oh, and he cuts it into like a story of like what they are and he puts like lists them 1 through 10 and he does all of that. And I was like, and funny thing is, I actually forgot. I knew his name and I knew his content, but I forgot his name. Or I knew who he was, but I forgot his name. So I see it and I'm like, oh, I know who he is. And I never had like a really big name. And I was so nervous. I waited outside the bathroom while he went to the bathroom. And I waited outside the bathroom. And then you could see it on the episode. We talk about it. And I was sitting there. When he gets outside, I'm like, he was like, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, but I watch your content all the time. He's like, Evan Carmichael. I'm like, Evan, okay, I'll never forget that name again. I said, Evan, like, I've been watching your stuff. Like, I follow you. Like, I'm actually a real follower. Like, I know I forget your name because there's so many people online. I can't remember everybody's name, but I was like, I love your stuff. Like, I'd love to interview you. And he's like, yeah, man, take my information, take my email, contact me on Instagram. Then right then and there, he put me on his story and he's got 200,000-300,000 people on his following him, whatever. And so that was cool. And we linked and then he's like, yeah, let's schedule some times. And I was messaging him and I couldn't believe he actually said yes. And then, I show up to the studio, I do the podcast. I'm wearing a suit with like a t-shirt
he's all like, he's trying to flash out real quick.
Yeah, I was like, I need to be like professional. He's like a professional. Like, I need a dress to like impress. I need a dress to feel the part.
Right, because you're having a big time influencer.
Right, and then I did the interview and it was incredible. But I realized like great guests carry the interview. You don't even,
That's what it is. True. That's fact.
I the last one, I like that one. I like Lazy. He was cool. I was like, hey, now. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, shout out Lazy Dub.
Yeah. Lazy Dub was really cool and genuine. But what when you say like when you started your podcast, when people listen to it, what's your target audience? Would you say like in the 30s or?
I mean, so it's typically people I mean, if I were to do like statistically, maybe 18 to 42.
18 to 42.
I think it's like 70% men, 70% men, 30% women. That will probably change eventually in the future, but for now it's just like who's out here. It's like when you start, you're like, I just want to get going, and then once you're going, you're like, what's gonna take me to the next level?
Yes.
And I'm super focused on just that.
Yes, I feel this, man.
And so eventually, it's gonna open up to like a little bit more broad. But right now I'm still narrow and focused on like what is the next thing that people want, because we're developing our own audience. It didn't start with one. We've interviewed anyone from a UFC fighter to a real estate guru to a sales a master to like people who are TikTok influencers. I mean, all over the place. And I've got people who are still all over the place. And people say to me, you can't go generic, you can't go broad, you have to be super niche specific. And I was like, that's why you guys are all boring. Like, I don't want to do that.
No,
like,
that's facts.
Yeah.
That's
but
facts.
also part of it is my personality. Because if you don't put your own personality into it, then what are people really following? And I think that it's there in my podcasts, but I think that I've been missing. People have told me, you need to like inject yourself more. And I'm like, how do I do that when I'm talking to some guy that literally made $200 million, like owns a $200 million company, made it out the mud, whatever it is.
Right, like, what am I going to say? Y'all got 200.
Like, what am I supposed to sit there and talk the whole time? Like,
yeah, no, I got that. So, that.
I get that though. Like the part where he's saying like your brand is your identity, people connect with the person. Like, who are you? What's your story? I think that's increasing like engagement. I feel like the more you come open with yourself, then people think like, man, I relate to Honey, or I relate to KJ, or I relate to Raquel, or I relate to Kicking Ass Taking Names podcast. You know what I'm saying? It just it's all about showing who you are, because you're important too. Obviously the brand is, but people want to know who are you and what's your story. And I think that's something that we all can practice. Sometimes it's kind of hard to show ourselves trust issues, whatever it is. It's kind of like we're in a shell. But the moment we open that up, people are like, oh, wow, like, I love this podcast. Yeah. Like, I want to keep listening to it. Yeah. But I feel like statistics really do matter. Why do you feel like I feel like a lot of podcasters need to know that statistics do matter, like the audience ages. Why do you think it's important to target your niche? Like, no, okay, this is going to be, it can't be for 18-year-olds, or it can't be for this, Because I feel like sometimes when you have different guests of different ages, it could confuse people. It could. But then it also, I feel like it can make it grow at the same time, because then those 18-year-olds check out your podcast. Yeah. So I think it's a growth thing. I mean, what do you think?
For me, it's more of like a theme-based. Like if they fit within a theme of what we're doing, where we're going. Everybody that we're interviewing is really like they have typically scaled either a career, a business, or like fame, like not fame, but just like stardom in some way. Like they're like, I want to be an influential person. I want to be an influencer, which means they know how to influence others.
Right.
So that's a skill in itself. Growing a business from 0 to 100 million, that's obviously a skill in itself.
True.
So these are things that I've noticed there is a little bit of a path of at least how we do it, and we've developed our formula. And I'm happy to give you guys details on it. But essentially, you just want to get, when people watch, they want to know, who is this person, right? First, they want to know, who is this person.
Facts.
But that's not the only thing, because once you know who the person is, you want to know their journey of how they got to where they are. Because if you don't know their journey, then you could just go on YouTube and listen to anybody and go, oh, this guy, yeah, he's telling me all this great advice, but I don't know what he's been through. That's step 2. And then step 3 is, and this is like a common theme that I'm noticing in all these interviews, is that once they get to that point, there's key insights that they've learned on the path to get there that become their expertise. And that's what they preach about and teach about in that kind of third part of the podcast.
Facts.
And if you look at all podcasts, there are like obviously talk shows, stories, whatever, but in some way or another, we're all telling that story.
Yes.
And then it ends with the key and valuable lessons and insights.
Yes, that's how we treat ours. Like, we always ask about the story and the history. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think that with us having 4 of us on the podcast, we're missing one. Shout out Robert, miss you, dog. But we have 4 different personalities, and we do not act the same. Like, you cannot tell me, like, I would have been like, oh, I'm gonna hang out with these people. Raquel, yeah, but occasionally I'm like, he crazy. And Robert, he a little diva, but I love him. But I think having so many different personalities and ideas, like how we all want to take the podcast somewhere like the same direction, but we're in the middle of like putting all of our personalities in one bowl and mixing it up and having like that main brand, like, putting Arizona on with our 3 different diversities that we bring to the table.
Yeah, yes, you guys are in the right place too, because I've run into so many people in Arizona, And I think it was the best place to start. Like if I would have started somewhere else, I don't think I would have gotten nearly as far. Like I'm from Seattle. I wouldn't see this scaling as quickly in Seattle.
But even like Isaiah, because I know a lot of people always have like opinions about, oh, you're never gonna make it in Arizona. You gotta go to California. But you said you made it in Arizona.
No, better. It's actually better, I think, because there's probably a lot of what you were talking about earlier is gatekeeping.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a lot of that in LA. It's really kind of like an uphill climb until you get to that point, and then you're gonna get everybody who wants to be on your show, and everybody's gonna reach out to you, and you're gonna be kind of like, you're gonna have to say no, right? At some point, you have to say no.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
and
nice.
so that's where you're gonna be. Things are gonna flip for you, but that's what we work for, because now we have the ability to influence, and we've got followers, and then you got a responsibility to your followers in some sort of way. Yeah. Because they're looking to you for, I mean, either it's entertainment or advice or whatever it is that you provide, you know?
Yeah, as an influencer.
I was just going to mention, I wouldn't just say it's just gatekeeping as well in LA. Like Phoenix in general, within the last like 3, maybe 5 years, the economy is booming here. Like, the housing, the real estate market. Like, I think I just read a statistic the other day, like from U-Haul. Like, I think it's like top 5 or top 3 people are moving here. From all over the country.
Yeah.
Like,
they're making our rent higher.
Yeah, that part, for sure. But Phoenix is a good place.
Make sure you buy a house. Make sure you buy a house.
No, it is, because I feel like because Phoenix, we have like literally everybody from all over comes to try to live here. Like people from Florida, Alabama, Alaska, Kansas, like everybody.
But they can't
LA.
all make it though.
But yeah, not everybody can make it, because you gotta, like, Arizona, we have all this diversity. But I ain't gonna lie, if we don't like some shit, we just gonna tell you. A lot of places, like, they're gonna fake it to you and they're gonna lie. And that. I feel like Arizona, a lot of people that I've met and that I'm friends with from all over, they have the same personality, like in a sense that they're gonna keep it 100%. And if you don't like it, hey, oh well, I'm not being rude, I'm not being, an asshole, but I don't like what you're doing. I don't like your music. I don't like your podcast. I feel like people out here, they really do tell you like how it is. And I'm from LA. In LA, I don't feel like I would do this in LA, because there's so many people wanting to climb to the top, and you really have to have somebody on the other side to get you in LA. You have to, like, you can't just walk up to somebody and be like, oh, hey, you want to do this? No.
You gotta know some
You
people.
have to have someone that can help you get there, because they don't really support each other like how I would say Arizona does.
And also, you got to be able to survive the weather out here. Right?
Only the strong survive 115, baby.
Hey, you better have AC in the damn car.
Okay.
Pay that $600.
And no leather seats. Don't have leather seats.
Oh, hell no.
That's not the move.
No, that's true though. I mean, you gotta be able to survive Arizona, like, and so it's so weird though, because some people are like, "Oh, I hate Arizona," but y'all live here. Like, what do you mean? Like, represent Phoenix, represent your
people
team.
are weird, but that's okay though. It's okay. I'd rather take that than having fake people around me. Even within the podcast, if we don't like something that we're doing, we vocalize it to each other without not taking it personal, just as constructive criticism.
Yeah. I feel like, when it comes to like even not just podcasting, but just also we're influencers too at the same time. Like, people are looking at you. You have to portray yourself as somebody that's,
and protect your brand.
Yeah, protect your brand. I mean, of course, you have to make sure you're not, coming off as arrogant or I know this or I know everything, because the truth is we fucking don't know everything. Like, we're learning. And even people who are 60, they always tell me, I'm always learning. You know? You never know everything. And if you're a person that's like, oh shit,
she said mic drop, I'm out this motherfucker.
Hey, literally, that was a whole mic drop. You know what I mean? No, but anytime like you're thinking like, oh, I know everything, you block yourselves from learning and growing.
You block your blessings.
You block the blessings.
My dad used to slap me if I said I know.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so my dad was always the one that was like prideful, where he's like, I'm right and you're wrong all the time. That was like, man, even has like it was like my way or the highway. I was like,
no, my dad, he would tell me something. I'd be like, oh, I just learned that. But I would tell him stuff he didn't know. He'd be like, oh, I guess you learn something every day, huh? Yeah.
Or he'll be like, I already know that. You don't got to teach me. And I'm like, I hate that.
Yeah,
like,
I'll be like, listen, man, you didn't know this. I would teach him all types of slang and rap music. And then 2 weeks later, oh, now he want to talk like that. I'd be like, you don't talk like me.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And people realize too, your network is your net worth. You have to realize that, especially doing a podcast, if you're an influencer, like, you got to collab with people, because that makes you grow. That's why y'all see like TikTok influencers collabing with or podcasters. That's how y'all both grow. But some people, they do gatekeep, and I don't even know why. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you guys could reach out to a lot of people in Arizona out here. I think there's so many available. So many. And honestly, especially when you're like on the come up because in a certain way, like once you get to a certain level, I feel like you just, and I'm not there yet, but I'm just saying if you keep going, you're at some point you're like, oh, I want to keep growing, but it gets so hard to like maintain the momentum of that. Yeah. When you start, you can just go unlimited. Like when you're getting started, everything is a win. You're like, yes. But then the more you go, like the more it's like, dang, these are like big challenges. Like these are multi, you know, this is like
overwhelming at a point.
Yeah, this is like the last level of Mario, you know?
I used to play that all the time.
I like that analogy. I like that one.
No, that's true though. I mean, what do you think about that, KJ?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, just, you know, keep going.
Yeah, keep going. But also, like, when those challenges hit, it's like, you know.
But the wins feel amazing at that level.
When we hit them 3K on the reel, when we hit them 4K on the reel.
Yeah, no, it'd be amazing. I'd be like, I love my group. I love my group. We compliment each other. Yeah. And I feel like the people that we bring on, sometimes it'll be, we'll pick a guest. You know what I'm saying? All right. So you'll see, like, more of a connection with two people that all of a sudden those conversations get to flowing and then we all start vibing and it's like just so organic and just cool. My phone might ring in the middle of the episode. We just start laughing and keep going. You know, like it's just us being each other and being ourselves. I feel like makes our podcast successful.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a big thing.
That's what people want. People don't want like I talk to a lot of people there. They don't want like just superstardom, in your face, etc. They want authenticity, and you can do that at any level.
Facts.
By the way, like you don't have to do that at a super high level, and you don't have to do, but you also can do that. Like Oprah was able to do it, whether, you know, people like her story of whatever and the back end and whether it's the dark side, you know, I'm not talking about like good versus evil right now. I'm just saying like in general, as a craft, as a person who's pulling out like something that people want to hear. What do the people want to hear? You could do that at any level.
That's facts. Everybody loves Oprah, but those people that everyone's like, I love her, like all race, anybody, all diversities, if you're up high or low.
Facts.
Everybody loves that woman. And there's multiple people in the industry that they're just like, I love them. Michael Jackson, you know, R.I.P. him. People just love him. And I think that they love the vibe and the energy, but it's like you're relatable to multiple people. If you can take shit internationally, you damn near made it. I'm sorry. If you take something that you made here and you go internationally with it, there's podcasts that it could be any of us, and they want us to come to the UK. I feel like for me that is like the biggest fucking goal.
Oh, that's my goal right now.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the goal. That's the end goal right there. Because once you go overseas, they fucking love us.
I will say this. I'm working on one, not right now, but like maybe, I don't know, a year, 2 years, 3 years. I'm working on one. I got to connect with one international superstar.
Oh, drop the name.
I can't drop the name.
Yeah, you gotta drop.
I'm like, I want the
I can't drop the name, but I can't drop the name, but let's just say, ¿tú hablas español?
See?
No, I don't.
Oh well, let's just.
Muy poquito.
That's the biggest hint I can give. That's it.
Oh.
He's a okay, but does he make music right now?
He even say he or she.
He makes music.
Oh, is it he?
How did you know his music?
Because you can't go crazy with the music.
Because it's usually like, what is it? International superstar. Yeah. It's always what I got.
I can't say nothing else though.
Damn. Okay, well we gotta watch out.
Maybe
for this
off camera, maybe.
Okay. You gotta give Honey this. I need to know.
Because she loves traveling. Like,
yes, I want to know.
Honey on the flight. She be in Puerto Rico.
Also, I can't say because it's not there. I'm like manifesting it. Yes. I just have a connect.
Oh, okay.
It's not there. It's not there, so I can't say it. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on it, but I have a path to it. But I also have like 2 or 3 other paths to a couple other A-list, you know, people. But it's like, you know, you got to work those leads like, because it's like, to me, it's like sales. Like I'm working that lead for 2-3 years.
That is so facts though.
So if in 4 years I can get 2 or 3, you know, big celebrities, like cool.
And how do you, that's my question. How do you do that? Like, how can you go from having, you know, I don't want to say like, put it like a letter on it, but having like local artists to having like mainstream artists on your platform?
It's definitely just stair steps. You got to stair step. Like for sure it's because if you don't see it as stairs, like what are you looking at as? Like it's not something else. It's a staircase. If you're not taking one step, each step gets a little bit higher. Like you have to consider it. This person, okay, like who do they know? This person, who do they know? This person, who do they know? And you'll be surprised. You'll meet some random person at some random event, and they might just be in a giving mood, and then you just hear like, oh, that guy, I know him. That's my cousin's whatever manager. My cousin's the manager for him. I'll put a word in. And if you did enough of the work before, that's why they say luck is when opportunity meets preparation. Because if you're prepared, if you were taking those steps instead of being discouraged or whatever, if you're just like consistent, then when you do run into that person,
no, I feel
there
that.
is no door to gatekeep because you're too big to like to worry about that.
Damn.
Whether your numbers are there or not, whether your numbers are huge or not, it doesn't matter. In your head, you've got to know like I'm gonna be the biggest. That's it.
Facts.
Damn, that's some positive affirmations type
Hell
shit.
yeah.
Well, me, I see it as a fight. I genuinely see it as like a fight. Like for me,
you're fighting yourself. You give me
I'm
that.
fighting.
I feel like
That's
like
real.
that's what he's giving. Like I'm
That's
here.
what it is.
But no, I'm not there. I'm not like where I need to be.
That's
Yeah,
that's what you gotta think.
And
like
that's how he
though.
talks. He's like, no, I'm not there yet. Like but to me, I'm like, oh, he doing a whole bunch. You know, I'm like,
no, I'm
damn.
fighting. You have to fight your
Yourself,
biggest.
yes.
You're your own biggest enemy. So why would you waste the energy
Absolutely.
on fighting anything outside of yourself?
Period.
Damn, that's so
Period.
good though. Like
It was good.
like that's a mic drop yourself. I'm just kidding.
which by the way, you have to do it in like a way as if you were a parent to yourself. Because if you try to fight yourself like you were your, maybe even some of your best friends or maybe some of your cousins or whatever, you would like you're like, oh no, I don't like myself anymore. You have to do it in a way where you are inspiring yourself. You're, sometimes you push yourself, sometimes you scold yourself, but at the end of the day, those things are the things that you need in order to mold yourself to do better. I don't want to like just because when I was younger and I went through a lot of like mindset training, I used to just yell at myself. I used to punish myself. And then guess what? You're not getting anywhere doing that. Like you're honestly doing worse. So
yes,
the punisher would be punishing, punishment. Like it's just like, what are you doing? It's almost like you're punching air.
What people don't realize is that it's really important what you tell yourself every day. Like if you tell yourself, oh, I'm stupid, then you start to believe it. And then you start to feel it. But when you tell yourself, I'm not there, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm damn not where I used to be, then you start believing that. And that's when people have to realize it's positive affirmations about yourself that helps your self-esteem. And that's what you're trying to say as well.
And also too, just telling yourself like that was a dumb thing that I should have not done. Because you have to keep that in mind, because if you don't and you just let it go and you let it slip, like you're not thinking about it, you don't solidify it in your mind, then you might repeat the same mistake too. So it's kind of like a balance. I would say I'm a little bit more on that extreme end. Self-awareness. But some people might, do better with like, hey, I'm going to water under the bridge. I'm going to move forward and grow. And I think that's good. I know how I talk to myself. You've got to figure out your language for yourself, That's
facts. I love that. What do you think about that, honey? Because you were like really deep into that.
No, definitely. I would say like maybe like in the past couple weeks, I've been like kind of like, damn, like I'm like, fuck it. I don't even care anymore. Like, shit, whatever. I might go to work. I might go turn up. I don't know. And so, like, these last couple of days, I kind of had to, like, reflect and be like, this isn't even my character for real. Like, I don't even move like this irresponsibly or not, not being focused and taking care of business. So, since probably maybe, like, Saturday, I've been like, I'm going to be focused. I'm not doing this. I'm going to have my party days on the days I'm off or, like, just the weekend period. That's it. And I got this past week, I've been taking care of so much shit in my own personal life, with my car, my house, like, even, like, doing more interior decorating, like, you really have to tell yourself, get focused. And tell your friends, like, I'm focused right now. I cannot hang out with y'all. Tell your parents or whatever, I'm focused right now. I can't do that. And I've been saying that, like, I'm going to be focused. I've been doing it, and I see it. Damn. And I'm like, you know what? I'm on top of my shit now. I'm like, okay, but keep going, though. Don't get too happy. Then you got a long race, so you keep going.
That's how I feel, too. I always feel like, with the podcast, too, how you said, like, you feel challenges, but you're like, oh, I'm there yet. No, hell no. I don't feel like we're there yet. And like you said, you don't even feel like you're there yet, because there's always room for growth. Like, what can I do to grow? What am I doing wrong? If you're like that, that's how you get there.
Yeah, I like how you said that. You don't know the end, because we don't know the end.
Yeah, we don't know the end, and it's like, but it's the journey. It's not about, I made it, I'm here. Yes. No, we're not there yet. But what can we do to get there? What steps do we need to do to get there? Like, that's the part of the growth that, even you think that yourself. I'm like, oh, wow, like, he made it. He has 10,000, but you're not at that point. I feel like me and you are always thinking about growth. Like, what can I do to grow the show? Yeah. Or what do you think?
Yeah, no, it's all about, so for me, I'm never like content with it, like, so personally, I have a particular, And also too, I don't know, maybe it just recycles, you know, because I think I'm like, oh, I get to this point, and then I get to that point, and then I'm like, that's not even 2% of where I actually want to be.
See?
And then, you know, it goes in a cycle. But I mean, you just have to really learn how to enjoy the process. Like, that's the most cliche thing you could say, but it's the truest thing you could say. If you don't enjoy the process, everybody says this on every podcast, well, maybe you should listen to it. You know, it's like, enjoy the process. Like, learn how to enjoy the process. If you don't know how to enjoy the process, then that means you have to go get professional, like, life coaching and get to that where your brain, like, you have things in your brain that are stopping you.
Right. Work on yourself if you're stuck.
Yeah. It's like you have a parasite in your mind, and people are like, I'm never content. I'm never enjoying. It's like, so then what do you enjoy? Because I don't need to have enjoyment for a million hours. Like, I can take one accomplishment and be like, wow, I'm so happy for like the next 2-3 days. I'm like happy and blissful. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm like happy, but also I'm like kind of got to focus on the next thing. Like, I can't dwell on that. And then for the next 2-3 weeks, I'm working the next. And then once I get to the point where I'm like a month or two and I haven't had a big accomplishment, I'm like, this is like, it almost becomes like a cycle where this is what you want. You want to get to the cycle where it's like too much time has gone by. I haven't accomplished something really big. I have to get it done. I just have to. And you have to be able to say that in your mind without feeling. I know a lot of people, when they hear that, they get like really like disempowered. And I'm like, and I notice a lot of people get insecure around me because I always speak like that. But the people that have really solid foundations of who they are and they know that they're never going to stop, they're never going to give up, they don't get discouraged by those words. They're like, yeah, that's true. And then limit how many words you say after that. Because if you keep going and you keep talking, it burns away the energy that you have built up.
Whoa. Drop the mic.
Man. That's what I'm telling you. I'm like, man. I mean, that's why I always say, like, when you have people on, learn from them, because their perspectives, you might needed to hear it. You know, you never know. Even when you guys right now watching this, you guys might needed to hear him say that. What if right now you're going through something, you feel stagnant, you're like, man, like, I'm not there where I want to be. But he's saying, you know, like, trust the process. Even though sometimes we feel like, man, like, are we ever going to get there? Are we ever going to reach that point? But it's like, just keep showing up every day, and you never know what opportunity might come into your lap.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
That's why I feel like, you know, even with your podcast too, I mean, so when you hear constructive criticism about your podcast, whenever they say, I think you could have done this better, how do you take it? Do you get like, don't talk about my damn show like that?
My initial reaction, 100%. I'm a human being. When I get those, I get that, like, I'll be at the gym. And I'm one of those dudes in the gym that hits the bag, and people are like, why, what does this guy like think he's like he thinks he's like Bruce Lee, and we're like literally LA Fitness, you know? Like people are like, this is LA Fitness, dude, like go to whatever gym. And I'm like,
LA Fitness.
No, like whatever it is, you know, that people always look at me and I'm like, whatever, man, like whatever. Like, I just brush it off. But then you'll get that one guy who has like, you know, walks like, you know, like with a peg leg, not really, but he's just like, you know, his guy, and he's like, you know, he's done some like Qing Chow, whatever. And I'm like, wow, dude, like you really know how to fight, you know, it's like, but he'll come up and be like, you need to like turn that left hip a little bit more because you're losing your torque. And then I in my head, I'm like, dude, honestly, you're not in shape, but I'm not gonna, you know, say that. But in my head, I'm thinking like, dude, but have you practiced what you preach? You know what I'm saying? But then I always think twice and I go, this person's intention is probably good.
Right.
You know, like,
the delivery just
so it's just, they just don't know how to. So I'm like, you know what? That sounds good. Like, let me, you know, and then I start talking to them for 2 minutes and they're a nice person and we get along and I see them in the gym and I'm like, hey, but like inside you have that initial reaction.
Yeah. Where you're like, don't talk
but
to me
it's
like
I don't hold on to it. I just kind of am like, maybe they're right, maybe they're not.
Yes.
You know, it's like, but if I have a coach and I've seen their results, that's the whole reason why social media is so big, because it's social proof. It's like proof that you can do it, right? Like, people don't think about the fact that there's a camera, there's people online, there's people here, there's people there. why don't you just prove, like, if you're like, I'm an excellent communicator, why don't you just turn on the camera? If you're a sales guy, why don't you just turn on the camera, start calling on the phone, get rejected, and then keep going and start doing sales calls and close deals literally live while people are watching, blur out the names, blur out the people. Like, how many people do that? Because they're afraid. Like the same thing of the podcast. They're afraid to just, you guys are doing this. You're not afraid to be on front of, on a camera. If you put this on YouTube, you're not afraid of this getting 1 million views. So that's a pretty big accomplishment.
Absolutely.
That's really
because you're not
fast.
afraid
Yeah,
of it.
that's
So
true.
you've already conquered those. When you conquer the big stuff, the little stuff, like the daily mundane, that stuff like becomes just regular work. That's why people are so good at, like, you see people doing like 100 backflips in a row and you're like, how do you do it? But it just becomes regular to them.
True.
You know?
True. It takes a while for people to want to turn on the camera or be like, oh, I'm kind of scared. Like, what are people going to think of me? You have to lose that, though. You have to be like, fuck what people think of me.
Let
Like,
it
I'm going to
humble
do what
you.
I want. You know, like, just don't be like, oh, well, what if I suck at it? There's always those what if thoughts that.
Oh, I did suck at it. I mean, like, I sucked at it when I started. Luckily, I started doing YouTube videos when I was younger, but I didn't do a ton of them. But I did some, and I did some speaking, and I did some, like, you know, event stuff. And I used to host events, like 100 people there. And so I did some. But the level of where I'm at now versus even a year and a half ago, like, I look back, I'm like, dude, what the heck was wrong with me? Like, I'm like all over the place. And then I still see myself like I'm all over the place. And people are like, you're so good. And I'm like,
I was like, you so professional.
I don't think so, you know? But here's one thing, and I know you guys want to chime in. One last thing I want to say, this is really important because it's inspired me a lot, is that Evan Carmichael on that episode, like, completely, you guys should watch it. It changed my life. As a podcaster, you should really watch that. That Evan Carmichael episode. And he said it took him 200 or 300 YouTube videos before he wasn't completely embarrassed of himself. And then it took him,
So you were embarrassed that long?
and he had 300 videos before he wasn't embarrassed by himself. And he has 4 million subscribers on YouTube. Okay. And it took him up to 700 or 800. I forgot. It's like 700 episodes before he inspired himself.
Wow.
Damn.
Can
To
you
inspire yourself. I like that.
700 episodes? My gosh. So you were like, he was
crazy.
just like kind of trying to break through the barrier.
Yeah. So when I hear that, like, what do you think? Like, he was just kind of maybe just doing it to do it, just to kind of like.
Oh, he was doing it because he knew that belief was the most powerful thing that you could have in life and in entrepreneurship.
Sheesh,
No,
man.
facts,
Like, he got 4
Man,
million
that's why I'm so
now.
quiet, because this dude is like, he's like,
Yeah,
just
no,
how he
he's
said,
talking
like,
some
I'm
shit.
just like literally a sponge just trying to absorb.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
absorb it all.
4 million.
I do
Yeah,
have
no,
a
like-
question because I remember we talked about it earlier, but I didn't forget y'all. So, yeah, okay. Say whatever, one episode. How many views will you get, or how many subscribers will you get from that one episode you put out? It doesn't matter, just random.
On average.
So it so depends.
on average.
Like, I mean, it's only the first year and a half. So
Yeah.
we could get like 75, 100. And then I have another episode that I got 500.
Wait,
And
500K views?
No, 500, not views, 500 subscribers.
Oh,
Right,
wow.
so that's our platform because I know I'm
YouTube is the main
here.
one, by the way, that you want to
Yeah.
focus on.
Got you.
That's the
That's
main
exactly
only one that
the
really
main one.
matters.
Okay, that really
Instagram
matters.
is your business card, so you
Right.
want it to be professional.
Oh,
But
wow.
YouTube is the one that matters.
So do you have a team behind you that help you promote and help you like push these things out, like episodes, or is this
You want to know the
doing
best way to
this?
grow?
Yes.
Reels.
Reels.
Reels are the best way to grow still.
And is this doing it solo dolo on yourself, or is it you going to someone
specific
to
way-
hire somebody to do this?
Hire
for you,
people
and then
hire
you
people
put it
better
out?
than you. Hire
Okay.
people better than you.
That's
Put
what I
together,
wanna know.
pull together budget. Hire people better than you.
Okay.
Good.
And then when you cut those reels together, there's a way to cut a reel. Like, one of the secrets, for example, that we use, and I give this, like, I don't care. It's if you cut, let's say that this person says a really amazing thing at like 1 hour and 2 minutes and 5 seconds until 1 hour, 3 minutes and 10 seconds. A lot of people will just cut that minute and 10 seconds. And then they have that clip, and then they post that clip, and it's like, it's chronological. But what people want to hear is like the hook, right? Is like something that they say, like the most inspiring or controversial or whatever it is. Put that in cut that. They cut like the middle or the end.
It's like a bait.
Put it as bait in the beginning of the video. Then they run the video, And then what they do, if you want to take it to the next level, is instead of just having a minute long clip, let's say this person's going on for like 3 minutes. Like I'm talking about this for 3 minutes, right? In the 3 minute clip, you want to also cut pieces out of like that 3 minutes that isn't as like connected and build a mini movie, a mini story.
So that makes them want to go ahead and see everything you
watching
said.
it.
Right, and it's not a recap. It's different than a recap.
It's a hook and a more
Yeah,
little.
Write this down, honey.
Snippet.
So we
I'm
do
taking
that.
all of this.
Damn,
That was my question.
I'm not even
to
saying
know.
shit. I'm over here
We
sponging
do
in front
this.
of
So
dude right now.
by
Damn.
doing that, like I can guarantee all my reels, like I used to struggle breaking past 300, 500, 700. All my reels, like we pretty much for the most part break past 2K, which is okay. Like it's not amazing, but we genuinely, like we will out of like now out of every like 15, 20 posts, we'll just like break 25K, 50K, 100K, 200K.
Damn.
Like out of every 50
You
posts.
just got the secret
we'll break
formula.
I mean, if you want to hire a podcast, you know, to the team.
So that's part of it. Like, is I'm kind of like building this into probably one of my purposes, like helping others, and so it's like I'll probably build this into like a brand that grows with other. You know, I could partner with studios, work with podcasts. You know,
marketing.
it's like whether you know
split.
podcast like specific, but also what I've started to do is storyboard. So, like I said, those elements of a podcast. Those are the things that everybody goes through as they go through the pod, like their story, right? But I'm cutting those into my like story brand, right?
And like your major milestones?
Well, the milestones are like the guidelines, and then those are like my injection, my shot, my medicine that I give to the people. And then when they commit up to me and they say, hey, I would like to get to your level, I listen to them. They tell me their symptoms. And I go, here's the problem. You don't have these elements. So I will do that. So that's what I'm saying is that we're going to inject. And like, I'm not even at that like big level yet. I'm only in a year and a half in. But if you think about the budget, you think about the guys I'm competing with, and you can think about what we're doing. If I had the budget that they had,
You'd be gone.
I think I'd honestly be,
Yeah.
I think I'd be like
God of the podcast.
No, I mean, I don't want to use that word, but
You'd be on another level. Yeah, you definitely.
I think I'd for sure be on a really big level because there's another guy out there doing it. Shout out, Sean Mike Kelly's killing it. But I think he's got some money, right? And he's investing and this guy's doing like 6-7 shows a day, like hour long, hour and a half. And I did 3 or 4 in Miami, and I had a vulnerable moment at one of them. We cut for like a minute, and I was crying.
Oh my God.
Just because I was so like,
And
I got overwhelmed, and I posted it. It's only like a minute, like it's like small. It's a small. I'm
What was that?
Yeah,
like,
you said
what
you
did
did.
you feel?
It was
What
just a
that?
buildup of like my expectations and reality of like how amazing I wanted to make this, and people still say the episodes are great, and they turned out awesome. But that was when I was interviewing Brandon Carter, Jason Stone, Millionaire Mentor. He's got like 10 million followers on Instagram. Jason Stone started that. Like Brandon Carter's like one of the biggest YouTube fitness guys. The guy who's like, hey, if you're watching this, like he'll be on his ad will pop up, and he's just like bald, ripped, black dude. He's sitting there, and he's like, he'll just like shirtless, whatever, and he's just like, if you're watching this, you're a personal trainer, like you're not getting clients. I know why. Like he knows how to do it.
Oh, I've been seeing those.
You do?
On Instagram, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah,
I've been looking at a lot of workout stuff.
he's awesome. He's awesome. Like he's a badass. I had Joe DeSena on and started a Spartan race. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Joe Rogan is a number one.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's number one, and Joe DeSena was on there, and he said some really just like badass stuff, like David Goggins style, like doesn't give a F, just whatever. So I mean, you just like learn stuff, and I don't really know. I'm kind of like all over the place right now. But
No,
you
you're
just
fine.
learn.
This is what we do.
We learn. We like to. We love to learn.
Yeah.
We're all here for the one.
So
purpose.
I guess my point is like, so we inject those elements, and we're building that story brand for you. So what I'm gonna eventually do is probably like manage a few or something. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like manage a show. Manage a couple shows. Also, I'm helping build a show right now with a private client, and we'll see how it goes from there. But eventually, I'm definitely gonna grow a network. Like how I'm building my network like this, I'm gonna build a network with the pods. I'm gonna build a network with all of the like studios. And once you're there, like, it's really about execution, right?
So
like,
you're gonna start helping, maybe more so words, helping mentoring like upcoming podcasts.
Yeah, I would like
whatever
to,
platform that they that you can do.
I would like to be my own media network, like at some point. Like
that.
we're just gonna have like.
See, that's what he's thinking so far.
Yeah,
that's like, but
that's good.
You know what Evan Carmichael also said, which is like, I still take so much inspiration every day from what he said is, if you can see where you're at in 10 years, you're thinking too small.
Oh,
you're saying think where you're at when you.
If you can see, if you could see like where you want to be in 10 years, you're thinking too small.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because there's no way where you can go in 10 years. You don't know how big you can actually get.
It's true.
Damn.
That's why I have Beyonce feel. For real.
Well, she worked 3 days and didn't eat any food because she was dancing, like just focused.
Damn.
Like Beyonce, I'm a Beyonce fan. I'm a part of the Beehive.
No, yeah.
Her story is real. Like she's one of my like main people that inspire me to like
story.
go and go and go. Even though she doesn't do podcasts, it's just like her drive.
Yep.
How she carries herself as a woman. Like it's just I love Beyonce. I love you.
Yeah, shout out to Kobe. Same thing. Yeah,
Shout out to Beyonce.
Kobe's my man.
But let me ask you something. Why is quality so important in the reels? Why?
Well, first off, like so people want to put out 4K, but only YouTube does 4K. Instagram can only do 1080 native. So if you put 4K in Instagram, it's actually going to get lower quality and it's going to look like choppy. Yeah.
Shit, I had no idea.
There you go.
So you don't want to put 4K. You actually want to put 1080. But the other thing too is the quality and the reels, like the way you edit the reels, it can change your numbers completely. Like you could go from 1K average views to 5K, but it doesn't replace if the conversation is boring, like nothing can save you. You know what I'm saying? So
That's facts, though. He lying.
you still gotta have like nuggets and time, like parts of the podcast that are like, wow, we need to cut that. So
like adding your personality to it.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work to
Big
rewatch, hour this and that. So if the better team you have, the better you're gonna do. Like if you have a good team that can do that, like I've got a team and I rely on them and they crush it. And I told them, I said like you're not gonna work for anybody else because I'm going to control. Like we are going to grow together. Like that's it.
I like he says we are going to grow. People. There's people that go up the ladder and like they drop who helped them get there. But I feel like that, to me, in my opinion, that's fucked up. But if you have a team that's there and like you've molded those people and you've picked them out for certain reasons, you're not gonna be like, oh, well, I'm up here.
Also, there is a level at which you're growing that you have to make sure that who you get on is the caliber at which can grow with you. Because if you don't have your standards high to begin with, eventually you're gonna have to hurt someone's feelings. You know what I'm saying?
So how do you know when that person? Let me ask you. How would you know if they're gonna be willing?
If it's
to go
time
with
to
you?
make cut the shit.
Yeah.
Well, execution. Like only 1% of people are gonna execute like that. So you'll know.
Yeah, because when you grow and everybody else is growing, it's like let's all go, or
So is there a difference between having growth and nitpicking at certain shit that you don't like, but then you've slacked off the week before or the week prior, and you're like, oh, what the fuck are they doing? Why are you doing this? Like, can you be like, okay, you know what? It's just that time to cut the cord, or is there a moment where you're like, hey, I've been off my game. I'm going through whatever I'm going through. Maybe that person's off on their game.
You're talking about like management of other people?
Like if you managing your team.
With my team,
or just anything.
Everybody I work with is like overseas, so I set the standards from the beginning. Like I let them know like from the beginning, like, hey, I need these things turned around in a certain amount of time. And I need the certain quality. And if they're really high quality and they still are like a little slow, I'll just basically move them to like a B or C team. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
So that way I don't ever lose
like
because they're high quality, but I'll just use them as like a backup, or I'll give it like I see how their cadence is. Like some guys will be like, oh, I brother, I really want to deliver this great quality, reel to you. Okay, fine, like do it. And then they take like a week to get me one reel. And then I'm like, okay, cool. That was a really high quality reel, but it wasn't worth like me dropping everything. So I'll just give you, okay. And I just pretend as if they're like an intern to like the other guys. I basically just hire them like, okay, I need one more. And as long as they can release that one, I'll still use their help and use their services. I'll utilize their services, but they're only gonna be there for like that level. You know what I'm saying? Like if you want to excel past that, you're gonna have to prove to me now at this point, right? Versus like if you are like from day one and they're consistent and everything, I'm just like, okay, like I already know because results speak for themselves.
Right.
And it's the hardest thing in the world, but results are results. And it just, the fact
That's
is
true. Now, before we take a short break, I have one question, and I've been wanting to ask because you've been doing this, you know, you've been doing your shits and popping. How do you feel about group podcasts? Like, where do you feel like, okay, that's a team or, you know, foundation, but it's too many people. Like, how do you know when to stop adding people to your podcast?
I mean, so you guys 3, 4? I mean, I don't think that's too many.
We're like 3 or 4. You know, if I got the, you know, missed the episode, then it's 3 or something like that. You know, then it might be 2 or something. We'll bring someone else. I
don't. As far as the actual content, I don't think it's an issue. If you guys know how to flow with it and you guys figure it out, I don't think there's an issue. I think the main issue, if that would be, it would be tough to negotiate unless you guys just do everything 25% split, everything 25% the amount of the effort. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody's paid out the same. If somebody leaves, you know, legally, if it grows and grows and grows, you're gonna run into different issues.
Right.
I think that those things, as long as those things are laid out and everybody's putting in their share and working as a team, then I wouldn't see that. I would say that would be a tougher part of management than the actual content, because when you bring on a guest, you know, if you had Kanye West sitting down, you'd be like, hey, Kanye, and you'd be asking question. And also, too, it can help because if you don't know what to say, somebody else might, and then somebody else might. So I would say you guys have probably less pressure. I'm like, when I do an interview, and I'm not comparing or anything, I'm just saying when I do a one-on-one, it's on me. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously behind the camera, I can cut, I can pause, I can turn off, you know. And I've only had one, you know, I've had 2 interviews that were a little bit like nerve-wracking, like a little weird for me, just because I was like, it's tough to like work it. But I've only had like one that was like really wow, like that's like a weird interview, you know.
Was it more like the guest, or were you kind of just unprepared?
No, one of them. I don't want to put it on any guests. You know, I wasn't prepared for what they were like. There was some stuff, but also I think you have to, like, media training is a thing. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Yeah. And if somebody doesn't know at least the basics, it's kind of like what do I compare it to? It's kind of like just like getting into something and like, let's say you're trying to play on a rec team, you're trying to play basketball. If you don't even know how to dribble, you don't like, you're like, everybody at least can dribble. At least you can play a game. Whether like they're not that great, they dribble a couple times, pass. Okay, well the game moves, right?
Right.
Yeah. But if they don't have any skill at all, they're like dropping to dribble the ball. Like 90% of the game, you're gonna be like, dude, like grab the ball, dude, grab the ball. So in the media space, there is like a small amount of like, you have to learn a little bit because you can't sit there and, you know, I'm too nervous to talk, or I'm too this, or I'm stuck.
Yes.
So if the person is not media trained, which you're almost never going to run into that because you're interviewing people usually bigger and bigger and bigger,
right?
And they're more and more media trained, or they have their story down. But if they don't, then yeah, it could be a little bit tough, a little bit, you know, because there's 2 types, right? Like someone might shut down. But then there's also someone who might just ramble in Antonio Brown and go crazy. And then they say some wild stuff and you're like, I don't really want to post that, you know? I don't know if you guys have ever run into that.
Cut that.
Yeah, we have.
I have. But I think that it kind of goes based off when we have to cut stuff. What that person is and their personality, when they see something else come out of somebody else, they're like, whoa, I don't want to be a part of that. But it's like, we're a team, so you knew what this was. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of we kind of have like little bumps in the road, and I'm gonna be real. Yeah. Where it's like, okay, how can we all kind of mesh and understand each other's personalities and help the podcast grow, versus us like putting that person's personality down because that's not what we're used to.
Yeah, and also it's just kind of like a mission statement. Like we won't allow people who want to preach X, Y, and Z or whatever. You know, like. if someone says something really just like against all of your values, like completely, like I love murdering people, you know, like you're not, you know, I murdered this person.
We're gonna call the cops,
you know,
right
like
now.
I just got, you know, if some dude just walked up right here and he's like, I'm ready for the podcast. Like, why are you so sweaty? He's like, oh, I just got in an argument with somebody and I just killed him. Like, and you're like, if that was like legit, you guys wouldn't say, well, you know, for the sake of the content, you know, you might be like, oh, yo, like, let's turn this into the police. Like, hold on. Like, so it just depends on, I know that's an extreme, but I'm saying it depends on your values, right? Like
how do you want, because at the same time the podcast is like your brand, right? So if we're showing up and we're saying like I want to murder people or I want to do this or
X, Y, and Z.
it makes the brand look bad. So it's like we have to be accountable to our actions. Because it's not coming off like
I see it as like, what if I want to interview Donald Trump one day, right? Like whether you love him or hate him.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to be able to like. But what if you get the opportunity? And then it's like, oh man. And there's so many things like in your, you know, and everything else outside of here. It's like that's your personal life. You keep it personal. But when you get in the room, it's professional.
Always.
And that's what it is.
That's what you have to have. So it's like if you guys are, you know, and if you're, and hopefully we're all being upstanding citizens, and then we're growing with this and we're learning, we're educating, and then we get to that point, and then it's like, man, I would love to. And so if you get that opportunity, so for me, it's just like keeping that like as solid as possible, because I want to have the opportunity to do this, and I might get big opportunities, and now I can't mess up. Well, versus when I was younger, I would be able to, you know, go and, you know, be a lot more wild and drink, say whatever I want, be controversial and X, Y, and Z. Today, I can still do those things, but it's like, you realize, is any of that actually helping other people when they hear it? Does it actually benefit them?
Wow.
I feel that.
So why are we like, you know what I'm saying? Because, and I also too, I have some controversial opinions for sure. And I won't say too many of them, but there's one, for example, like I'll share one controversial opinion is what we do in our brand. Let's say, for example, we wouldn't want to interview, for example, like someone who was like an OnlyFans, like superstar creator, porn star or whatever. Like I just genuinely, I'm just like, I'm sorry, that's not my brand. It's not our brand.
Value.
Whether you know, and I said no hate to anybody. It's not what our brand does. But that's our red tape, right? Versus not like 95% of the time, 98% of the time, as long as you're you know, aiming for what you're looking for, you're focused on your goals, you won't run into those issues most of the time. So
wow.
Okay.
I feel like that, I mean, honestly, having you on this podcast, we learned so much. Like I always say this too, I'm like, guys, when we're learning from people, like learn from them, because you just never know what you're gonna learn. You could take it home with you. You can think about it when you drive home. You're like, man, like whatever they said, that he really hit that. Like, no, we always have those, and that's why I'm like, honestly, even though you're big podcast, and obviously we're still growing, and
mine's not big. I think we were like, I had a comment the other day, like, how could you have such a professional, amazing, badass guests, and your views are still so low? And I'm just like, trust the process, you know? Like,
that's what it is. I tell you all the time, like, trust that process.
We got merch coming out, by the way. But,
trust the process, because you know what? If you quit, if you just say, fuck it, I'm leaving, I'm never gonna go back, fuck it, you never know how far you would have went. There was always this like there was a picture, I don't know if you guys ever seen it, but it was like a man, and he was like underneath the hole, and he was like digging, and he would have, if he did one more, he would have hit the diamonds. But he left, he turned back. You never know, like the next day you could have met somebody that could have brought you up. But if you quit, you'll just never know.
Exactly.
And then you'll just have regrets, like, damn, you know what if I would have stuck by podcasting? What would have, you know?
Right.
Now
and
I'm
I
over
feel
here.
like with him, he's him.
Yeah.
You know? And he has, his people he has hired on that help him and that, help build it up.
Yeah.
But you have communication with the people. So if someone doesn't like something that they did, or that you didn't like this, you're vocalizing this to them. It's not like, okay, well, I'm going to just stay quiet and then see what they do next time. I feel like when you have any podcast or any team behind you, you have to be vocal about what you like and what you don't like, because you can't expect a horse to go drink water and it's a pond right there. KJ said that last episode. I like this, how to steal it. But you have to be vocal about what you like and don't like. What do you think about that? You think that's something that should be there, or just keep being passive aggressive?
I think if people want to get further, the first step is they have to be honest with themselves. They have to be honest with everybody around them. And they have to say, this is what I am looking for. This is what I'm going for. And almost have a list of non-negotiables, because otherwise you're going to run into more issues later, right? Like you have to say, like, I ask people, like sometimes I'll talk to like even editors. I like, what would you like to get paid? Like, I know I can't pay you that right now, but would you like to get paid? Oh, okay. And I'll say, okay, so if you want to get paid that much, here's what the criteria are. So I may, like, if some editor's like, oh, I want to get paid $100 to do one video, I'll say, okay, so if you would like to get paid that much, like if you look at the actual standard, like there are companies, if you average that X, Y, and Z, I can guarantee a minimum of 75,000 views in one reel. Right? So it's like, if I paid that per edit, per reel, I could guarantee 50K views, whatever. You may not get it on the first one, but if you work with somebody on like a package, they know their average numbers. They're like, out of this many, with yours, you fit within our criteria of our program. We can guarantee you like 40K views per reel on average. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I look at what can you, okay, you want that. This is where, and you just talk to like, this is where I think you're at. And then they like, no, brother, I'm at here. And I say brother because I talk to like a lot of like, I'll have guys like from India, Pakistan.
I used to have a freaking editor in Afghanistan. I'm not even like
that.
In Fiverr.
Yeah, or like dear. Sometimes in India they'll say dear, like they'll be like dear, and I'm like,
thank
bro,
you kindly.
just say bro. I'm like, they don't know. I'm just like, bro, just say bro.
Like, you came out of church right now saying
like,
brother.
No, just say bro. Yeah, but you just gotta like, I tell them, and then also too, I sell the vision of the future. And I'm like, dude, what have I done so far? Does it prove to you that I'm going to keep growing? Cool. So do you believe me? If I put you on the bench, do you believe me that you could be a star player? I need you to get there for me. I can't put you in the front. I can't put you up front right now. But that doesn't mean you can't be a star player. You just have to grow with the team.
You have to take constructive criticism. And honestly, like what you said is, take constructive criticism. You're telling them, okay, this is what you need to do to get to there. Because obviously, if you're on, you have a team, you have a vision. Yeah. Everybody needs to be on that vision.
Yeah. Or at least in the same direction of the vision.
And that's being nice.
And if there's somebody,
there's a lot of, in business, you'll run into a lot of guys and they'll be like, no, sorry, this doesn't cut it. You don't get the deal. You lose whatever 10,000 deal. You guys are going to get a sponsorship. Okay. And you're looking forward to it. And they'll just be like, no. And then you're like, how, why, what? And then they'll just say like, oh, sorry, it just doesn't fit our criteria. But some people will say like, okay, here's what you guys can do. Boom, boom, boom. Or you might have like a manager communicate with you. We need you guys to get to this average number, this. Luckily, I'm not, my goal is not to like have the podcast pay my bills. I mean, eventually, sure, I'd love an exit. But like, that's not the goal right now. The goal is pretty much to keep doing it, just to keep going.
That's it.
And then I'll build stuff around the identity that I'm building. So imagine you have 1, 2, 3, 4 TikTok personalities, 1, 2, 3, 4 different followings, and you put on there host of, boom. Now you're getting people from those. So you don't have to, the creativity doesn't stop here. You could go home tonight, you can all create your own reaction videos. I just saw this crazy video speech that Kobe did, and you react to it and you're just like, that's just crazy. You know what? I realized I learned this on my podcast. Or you create a video on TikTok and you're like, this is my style. This is what I'm wearing today. Boom. And like you create one and you're like, Beyonce did this and today, and so like now you've got people following
social media.
If you want to learn more, if you want to keep watching, follow me. Oh, by the way, I host this podcast. Boom. Now 100,000 followers on TikTok. You're now funneling them to the podcast. So it doesn't stop at just the podcast.
Facts. He has to build, build your social media profile. That was a great
idea. I might start doing
it. I have a question. You mentioned when it comes to like starting, you have to be honest with yourself and honest with others. My question is like for people who are like, just starting off or like just getting started, how would you help them like with like starting a brand name? Like how did like coming up with the name or your brand or your
just
company?
like a name?
Yeah, just like the actual name, like
just a name. I mean, honestly, I don't overthink names, man. I look at like what's the theme of what you're doing.
The theme, okay.
That's what I did.
And I just stick to like if there's you pick, you know how when you did those exercises when you're a kid and you write like in 30 seconds, everybody write down as many whatever as you can think of. And the teacher's like, okay, what did you think of? Like, just do those exercises, get like, you know, a bunch of themes, or plug it into a random name generator, or pick your favorite number plus your favorite color plus your name, you know, get your rap name generator. Like, it doesn't matter. And then, you know, or put your, you know, race drummer is ear drummers backwards. Ear drummers is their label that they signed with.
Oh, I didn't know. Shit.
And I'm in an interview. Yeah, so I'm working on the interview. I screwed up a little bit.
Never knew that. Yeah.
There was some politics involved.
Right?
Politics involved, you said?
Now I'm starting to get to the point where there's some politics involved.
Aww.
But yeah, like kind of like me personally, like I'm an overthinker. So like just don't overthink it. Just kind of just go based off like theme categories.
Yeah, I wouldn't overthink anything. I also would sometimes just get around somebody who's just going to tell you to like just do it.
Just do it. Okay.
You know, like sometimes utilize
Nike
people.
sign.
Just do it.
You could read 100 books. You could read 100 books. You could read 100 books. I could read 100 books. How long would it take us? But if we had a conversation about all the books we read and the golden nuggets, we could build a list right now that would be way more valuable, right? So you don't have to read.
Shit.
Everybody's like, you have to read. No, you should read.
Yeah,
But you should also be consulting experts.
Facts. No, that's
Are you a life coach?
No. I'll tell you this, because I probably don't want to leave without saying at least this, is that my dream when I was 6 years old, the first dream I ever had, my first vision of who I wanted to be in life, was a motivational speaker. So that was what I wanted to do as a kid so bad. I wanted that so bad. And somehow it manifests to podcasts. So it's like, I feel like I'm tier 2.
No,
I'm
dude,
not even
like
tier 1.
when you
motivational
speak,
speaker,
like when you speak, like we listen.
You're
I mean, me personally,
hitting multiple ears, multiple regions.
you can tell when you speak, you speak with purpose.
I would hope,
passion.
I hope I can speak on stages one day, because when I get in front of like 100 or 1,000 or whatever people, I am so like, people get scared. I get like
anxiety.
It's like I'm on cocaine. I'm like, yeah, what's up, everybody?
Oh
You
yeah.
know, like I get the opposite. I get so opposite. I don't get scared at all. I get energy from the crowd. I'm like, there's a million people here.
That's
Like,
how I am.
you
Let's
know?
go. Yeah, like you want to run out there.
Yeah, and also I maybe have a little bit of like a validation seeking. Maybe all podcasters have that. Like we seek, like we want other people's approval. We don't want anybody to hate us. We want everybody to love us. Like I have a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Although I also do have like the I don't care. I don't give a fuck what everybody says.
I feel like
you know?
balance.
Honestly, like we learned so much from you, bro. Like I just want to give you a round of applause for like sharing all your knowledge, because like we learned so much when it comes to starting the podcast to making it grow. I mean, even you giving us your time. I mean, obviously,
amazing.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate
I learned
you.
so much.
Yeah,
like,
what is you know what
can
we take from this, guys? What did you think? What would you take from it?
I mean, where do I start? I mean, no, like just that's why I was just like really quiet. I was just trying to be a sponge, and like just pretty much like the highlight and the message from this is just like just know yourself, be honest with yourself, and like just keep going. Just
Keep
don't quit. Up. Yeah, just build your brand.
What about you, honey?
See, me, I took a lot of, mostly the questions I was looking for, I was mostly wanting to ask things that are happening within our podcast, so I could hear how it is from a person that does it solo dolo. You know what I mean? So a lot of the key things you said, I was okay. I've seen that. I've seen that. But also on the other side, I'm like, well, this person has done this, and they have done that, and that's made the group come together. So I guess it was kind of me helping like go more towards like the pros of what we have in our dream is versus the cons aren't that bad. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mostly took from.
You have way more to gain than you have to lose.
Exactly, way more to gain than you have to lose. And I want to also kind of pick your brain after we take this break, because I want to know your mental. How was your mental health from you being here for podcasting for a year and a half? How was your mental going with that? Because I could tell you're positive. I could tell you're very, assertive in what you do. But I feel like those people sometimes go through the hardest battles by themselves because you're so protective of your energy and what you have to lose.
I would say if I didn't do, so I'll tell everybody, I always plug them, Landmark Education. Like for 2 years, I went from being a top performing sales guy to then going into the insurance industry, crushing it in insurance, to then I left the insurance industry and I became a security guard for 2 years. And you're like, what the heck? Like, why? Because I was on track to make, right now I'd be making over $700K a year easy. in insurance.
700K?
Easy over that. Because I was crushing so many. I did employee benefits.
With the insurance or the sales?
Insurance, employee benefits.
Wow, bro,
no,
damn.
employee benefits.
You could
but
ride
life
off into the
insurance.
sunset at that point.
Yeah. No, I could have, but it wasn't.
God
It wasn't a
damn.
passion, and I quit. And I wanted to do crypto, and I started crypto in 2017, but I quit that too. So I learned the lesson, right? Like 2 things that could have made me millions of dollars. I quit.
Did you quit because you lost money?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I did. I lost money and I quit. But if I would have just saved those same coins and not sold today, I'd be like freaking $7.2 million.
Regrets
you know?
that you have when you quit.
So I had enough crypto to be, you know. But I mean, you didn't take a lot though. You only needed like 5K. That would have been worth like 5 million today. Yeah. So, so I quit, and I told myself when I started this. And everybody was like, dude, you're just like inconsistent. You quit. Like you have a new business idea every day. You have a new business every day. You have a new whatever every day. I was like, this is the last time you'll ever hear that I quit, at least this.
Because that hurts.
Right.
That
motivation though.
If people lose faith in you, that's the biggest hurt. When people lose faith in you and you you're like, man, I would really like to talk to my friend, like cousin, brother, uncle, friend.
It's such a big ripple effect.
Yeah, like my
Huge
cousins or my brothers,
yeah.
my, you know, I don't have a brother, but I have, you know, cousins, and or if I want to talk to like anybody, and I'm like, I'm so excited about this idea, and they're just like, yeah, like
you said that
you had a million ones and one of those already. Like we'll see, you know, and they're talking to each other like, oh yeah, in 3 months he'll quit that too. And I was like, dude,
that really does.
That
hurt,
gives me
though.
drive. Like, okay,
Yeah.
now watch this motherfucker when
I love proving people wrong.
Now when I go
you take that,
crazy.
internalize that pain and use it as fuel. But
Yeah,
but what
definitely.
I was gonna say, to go back to it, to finish my point, was that when I was 23 to 25, I've never experienced depression in my life. I experienced like a week of depression. Like this is how bad I take pain. I hate pain. Like martial arts pain, different. Like getting punched on the face, different. Like breaking my nose, different. This is not broken, by the way. This is because I can't breathe because I broke my nose.
Oh shit.
And then I don't always do it, but I just started because in the summer the allergies. So I started
crazy.
using these, and these help my nose breathe. But because of all of that, I ended up going to I had a small amount of depression, and it just somehow I attracted the right person around me at that time, which in a way was kind of like God through someone to just like, hey, you like, they were like, hey, you need to like try this program out. They really changed my life, blah, blah, blah. People always are like, oh, it's a cult, blah, blah, blah. I went to the program. It was life coaching. Like people were like, it's a cult. This. I was like, I did it for 2 years. I left. I'm not stuck in it. I don't go anymore. Like I went for 2 years. I was a security guard at night, and I just would go in the days, and I would be doing all of their programs where they like, kind of like me speaking to you. It's like they ask you questions.
Rewire your brain
and
a little
rewire
bit.
your brain.
Rewire
They're
your
all
brain.
and none of them are like doctors, psychologists, whatever. So a lot of people hate on that. But I'm like, these people have been doing it for like 15,
They
20
know
years.
something.
They're like,
So evidently something's working.
yeah, imagine just these people just training every day, like super committed. And it sucks because the organization's like getting smaller now because COVID. But they used to be really big. They're still big, but they're doing a lot of online. But the in-person ones, it's called Landmark Education. They have them in LA. You can go to that in LA, dude. That will take that alone will take your pot. I feel like just go to the forum that weekend. It's 3 days. I've seen people literally 3 days start walking in. They're just like depressed, and you hear all these stories, and you know stories you wouldn't repeat. Just like messed up stuff happened to these people.
I'm about to write that
kids.
shit down in my notes right now.
No, for
Messed
real.
up stuff happens to them when they're kids, and
Group
everybody in the
road
room is
trip.
everybody's crying, and it's just amazing. And then I went to
Education.
Yeah, Landmark Education.
Thank you.
And the
Make sure you
Landmark
guys write that
Forum.
down, guys. Landmark Education. It's really good for depression. And
That's
For
what
me,
this whole
you know,
podcast is
and
about.
a lot of people will say, you know, oh, it's a cult, this, that, whatever. It's like, dude, have you guys been like? When people are like, oh, they're gonna brainwash you, I'm like, cool, my brain's dirty, clean it. Like, what are you gonna brainwash me? Like, you can't get brainwashed that easily. It's not like you're gonna go and then, I lived 30 years of my life, but now after one weekend, you've figured out how to brainwash 30 years of my rewiring. No, it takes years to like get your brain to rewire. Months.
Yeah.
It could take months. It could take years.
Yeah.
So if you develop bad habits, like now you got to work twice as hard the older you get to undo those. So you think about that. So when I was younger, the only thing I'm happy about is that I knew, and I was like, I got to stay away from getting too far. So I cultivated some good habits, but I also cultivated a lot of bad habits. And like now, it's a lot more of like a balance. I'm turning 30, and so I'm like, I'm chilling now.
He's like, I'm chilling right now. He's
Dirty, hey.
I'm chilling now. I don't need to go crazy, you know.
Yeah, you kind of mellow out a little bit.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
honestly.
no,
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on and, just sharing so much knowledge, but also about the podcast, the mental health. I mean, all of us are just so astonished, by you knowing so much knowledge. And even me, I'm like, wow, like, you know a lot. And that's why I love to learn from people, because you just never know what insight they have and what insight you're going to go home. You're going to think about everything this man said. You're going to dream about him.
Spicy.
But you're also going to think, man, like what he said really hit. And that's why the beauty of podcasting and kind of like, obviously I have a different personality. KJ does, Honey does, you do. We're all 4 people. We're all learning from each other. We're all absorbing. And I think, honestly, having you on, I was so excited. I told him too, I'm like, guys, we got Kicking Ass, Taking Names podcast. He knows a lot of stuff.
Like,
we're going to learn from him. Like,
well, thank you guys for having me. And also, too, the fact that you're just here, you're doing it, like, that's already in itself really all the congratulations you need. Like, you're just doing it,
Yeah,
you don't need more.
Damn,
you like, it's like people
appreciate
always are like, oh, like you can't. I used to not be able to accept like you being you.
Not fulfilled type shit.
Yeah, like you being you is not enough. Like I'd be like, oh no, I can't. Like, don't do it. Just accept it. Like accept that you being you being authentic, you being here, you guys being present is enough.
wow.
Bet. Thank you.
She's like, she's gonna put it back on her notes, and the Honey's like, I'm gonna write that shit down.
Write that shit down right now.
Man, yeah, no, like I was just gonna kind of end it with I mean, obviously it's a quote, but yeah, there's always gonna be someone that's gonna be doing better and bigger things than you are. Instead of hating on them, learn from them. You know what I mean? So
Fact.
That's how we got Kicking Ass, Taking Names podcast.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys so much.
Much
for
love and
tuning in.
respect, man.
Hell yeah, man.
absolutely.
Honestly, thank you so much, Honey. You want to tell them anything?
Hey, listen to this man. We're gonna have to network, man,
Yeah,
because he
like,
got some
that's
knowledge.
how I
Yeah,
told
follow
you
his
that, bro.
podcast.
I
Follow
love
his
to grow. I
podcast.
love
Kicking Ass, Taking Names,
Yep,
guys,
at
everywhere.
katn.podcast.
Yep. He'll
on all
kick your ass and he'll
platforms.
take your name.
Right?
Of course, yeah.
I'm trying to get to the MMA for him.
If not, he'll break your nose.
Hey, you want your nose look like that? Don't fuck with him.
No, but all seriousness, this was a pleasure, man. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
Appreciate you guys so
much.
much.
Make sure
Yeah.
you guys, if
Absolutely.
you guys learned from anything,
real
make
on
sure
the
you guys
Realness
like,
Lounge.
share, subscribe.
Hell
Like
yeah.
anything, guys, we'll be back with another
Till next
episode.
time.
Keep it
Peace
organic.
out.